Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Muruga's Incarnation in Tamil Nadu. People of the world today develop much loyalty and attachment to some of the modern ideas and concepts. That is all right. But that should not mean that they should depict the people of the past generations to have believed in similar ideas and picture paint, manipulate and interpret the history accordingly. If they wish so, let them have whatever principles and policies, but those ideas should not be thrust on the people of the past. That Muruga or Murugan, as he is called in the Tamil language, is not a god of the Vedic times, and that he solely belongs to the Tamil land of South India and is an original deity of the Tamilians, like some tribal deity, is a recent politically motivated concept. Tirumurukkaatrupadai, a classic literature of the Sanga period, talks about Murugan of Tiruppuram Kundram as the god venerated by the Brahmins who conduct yoga. Thiru Gyana Sambandar, who is an avatara of Muruga, says that he had come into being for the main purpose of invigorating the ceremonial practices of conducting yoga. Sambandar calls the Jains as Veda Velviyai Nindane Seithudal Adamilli Yaman and Marai Vazhakamila Mapaviyar. He is calling the Jains as great sinners for not inculcating the Vedic practices. As a small baby, that he was breastfed by the very Ambal is proof of the fact that he was an avatara of Subramanya Swami. He debated and defeated the Jains, the religion which was much on the ascendancy before him. He ends his debate with the song Vadaga Andanar. As his main aim was to resurrect the Vedic practices, let me tell you that story. There were periods of time when South India was dominated by the influx of Jainism and or Buddhism. Jains were known as Samana in Tamil. Once the Pandya king of Madurai was fully converted to Jainism, while his wife and chief minister remained ardent devotees of orthodox Saivism. The king's court was wholly dominated by the Jains. That was the time when Thiru Gyana Sambandar came to Madurai and defeated the Jains in the intellectual debate to decide as to which religion was greater or more relevant. Then he had applied the sacred ashes of Vibhuti to the Pandya king who was suffering from Veppu Noi, some sort of a fever, and the fever was instantly abated. Jains were not yet satisfied, though the king was thrilled of being relieved of his long-standing disease. Maybe that the Jains thought that the fever could have come down by chance, so they insisted on further trial of strength of inviolable proof as they possibly sincerely believed in their own faith. The Jains and Sambandar and his followers then decided to test their strength by what is known as Analvadam and Punalvadam. Here the word Anal is not to mean as in the English dictionary. Here Anal as in Tamil means heat or fire and Punal means flow of water. Both the opposing parties were to write their most venerated catchphrase or some such script in palm leaf known as Suvadi and place it in the fire. Whichever palm leaf remains unburnt, their principal contention will be considered as the one having the divine sanction. This was Analvadam. As per Punalvadam, the agreement was that both sides should place their palm leaf in the flow of water in the Vaigai river. Whichever Suvadi gets washed away, that anyhow will be lost, and the one that stays or moves against the current of water, that would be declared the winner. First in the Analvadam, Thirugyana Sambandar Murthy Swami was the winner. Then was Punalvadam. The Jains, it seems, wrote Viprakshayam, in their palm leaf and it disappeared or was washed away, it seems. The phrase Viprakshayam means let the Brahmins perish. As the anti Brahmin socio political faction say in Tamil, Parpane Origa. As the Jains were wholly against Vedic Brahmanism and considered the Brahmins the main architects of the religion they were opposing, they are said to have written like this. Then Sambandar wrote a Tevaram song of his and placed it in the flowing water. It moved against the current with all felicity and facility. Normally, an object placed in the flow of water may seem to be moving against the current, even if it is only static. But this one was, in fact, moving against the current. Kulachirayar, the minister in the king's court of the Pandya king, got on his horse and followed along the river bank, keeping the movement of the Suvadi under observation. Then Samandar sang a padikam, causing the Suvadi to stop moving away and stand static in one place in the river. Kulachirayar happily jumped into the river and recovered the Suvadi. That place on the Vaigai river bank where Kulachirayar got hold of the Suvadi and came ashore is called Tiruvedagam, till date. The name of the place is a clear proof of what I am saying. Tiruvedagam is to be paraphrased as Tiru plus Edu plus Agam, meaning where the peace was brought ashore. What had Sambandar written in the Suvadi, which virtually moved against the current in Punalvadam and got him the conclusive victory against the Jains? That Tevaram song starts with the words Varga Andanar, meaning let the Brahmins live long. Tirugyana Sambandar had no doubt that only if Vedas continue to exist as learnt, practiced, and propagated by Brahmins, that is only when Brahmanyam continues to thrive and exist, the world's continued well-being can be ensured. The very purpose of Sambandar's coming into being, Avatara Karyam, was to ensure the continued well-being of the Brahmins, and he professed so and as made clear from the very first two words of the song. Some people in the modern day world may have some different view about the well-being of the Brahmins, but Sambandar had no doubts in his mind about this. Okay, it is all right, but would a great saint such as Sambandar wish only that some Brahmins chanting the Vedas and conducting yagas should thrive and prosper, leaving unmentioned all other castes? Great saints and sages would wish for the continued well-being and thriving of humanity as a whole and all life forms, isn't it? That is how he finished the poem by saying, Vayagamum tuyar tirkave, meaning, let the whole world be rid of all agony, pain, and hardship. There is a statement in the Vedas as Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, sarve jana sukhino bhavantu. It is that statement which has come dripping with universal love in the words of the Tamil baby as Vayagamum tuyir tirgave. If that is so, okay, it is all right. But when you say let the whole world be happy, it automatically could mean that Brahmins living in the world may also survive and thrive. Why should you separate Brahmins as though they are something other than people of this world and giving them some separate special position, starting the poem with the words Long live Brahmins? Just because he was born as a Brahmin, should Samandar have such parochial loyalty and ambition? Such narrow mindedness in a person said to be a sage saint is not in the rightness of things. One may have some such objection or observation, but Samandar's mission as such was universal well being only, for which the optimum means, in his opinion, was conducting of Veda Yagas. That is why he placed the Brahmins as the first lot to be mentioned in his song and not due to any parochialism. Let us look at the other words of the poem. He says, Varga Andanar Vanavar Aninam Vilga Tanpunal Vendanum Onguga. In the conduct of yagas, the Brahmins give oblations in the fire for the celestial divine beings known as Vanavar. That will cause them to ensure proper rains on the earth. Tanpunal Vizhum. With proper rains, there will be good growth of plants and crops, leading to plentiful agricultural harvest that will cause the king's reign to thrive. In between, there is mention of Aninam, which means the cattle, especially the cows. Here, one may have a question as to why should the Aninam be specially mentioned when we say Vaiyagam. It means the whole world with all living beings in which the cattle are automatically included. For specially mentioning the Brahmins as Varga Andanar, you said that Brahmins conduct yaga karma activities, because of which Brahmins are specially mentioned. Then there is logic in including divine beings for rains and wishing for the king's prosperity. But what is the reason for including the cattle's well being, especially the cows? As we said that Brahmins' well being is important for the chanting of the Vedas, conduct of yaga karma, activities, and giving oblations to the Vanavar. That is, the celestial angels. In doing so, the cattle, especially the cows, give milk, ghee, and dung, which are all used in conduct of yagas. While milk is used for making offerings, cow's ghee is especially preferred for pouring in the fire to keep it blazing, while the cow's dung is used to clean up the entire premises, and dried cakes of cow's dung are used in the fire as fuel for controlled burning. So, aninum is specially mentioned not because of any sectarian loyalty but because of the fact that they directly contribute for the successful conduct of yagas, which in turn pave the way for universal well-being. So he mentioned the Brahmins and the cows. This greetings is not meant for Brahmins who are not practicing their profession, and for such people I am not arguing this case either. So it seems that if if everywhere in small and big cities, townships and population centers, if there are a lot of continuous and overlapping Vedic activities, goodness will increase and wrongful grossness will dissipate automatically, is the view of Sambandar. So he goes on to sing ஆழ்க தீபதெல்லாம் அரண் நாமமே சூழ்க வையகமும் துயர் தீர்க்கவே. Vedaneri, meaning the Vedic system, is like a huge river. As there are a number of stone paved approaches to a river all along its route on either banks, for people to go down to the river and make use of the water in the Vedic system, there are a number approaches such as Vaishnavam as followed by devotees of Vishnu, Shaivam as followed by devotees of Shiva, Saktam of devotees of Mother Goddess Shakti, and so on. Among them, Thirugyana Sambandar incarnated as to invigorate the Shaivam, says Sheriyar, who collected and collated all the Tevaram songs and wrote about all of them, poets, devotees of Shiva, collectively known as the 63 Nayan Margal. When Vedic Dharma is thriving everywhere, Haranama, God's name, will resoundingly be echoing everywhere. Then not only one caste or creed, but all living things, plants, animals, and people will thrive in the Vaiyagam, that is the whole world, in all countries, people will be rid of all sorts of problems. For the Lokakshemam, he blessed that some who are meant to do that, that is the Brahmins, were specially mentioned. To strongly re establish the Brahmins' role, in Sanatana Dharma while countering other religions and beliefs such as that of Jains was the Avatara Karya of Tirugyana Sambandar, who was an avatara of Murugan or Lord Subramanya. Note that his very name contains within the word Brahmanyam. Now, let me tell you about his avatara in North India. Muruga's incarnation in North India. Born in Sirgari, Kumaraswamy as Tirugyana Sambandar won over the Jains of those days in South India. The same Kumaraswamy was born in North India in Prayag when Buddhism was in the ascendancy. His name was Kumarala Bhattar. The Kumara connection is in the name also. At that time, there was a movement within Hinduism known as Karma Mimamsakars or Purva Mimamsakars. They used to profess set aside bhakti and jnanam. We have the delineated duties as per the Vedas. Simply to do that itself is enough. To do analysis of why and how is not required. They found that just by doing the duties as per the Vedas was providing individual satisfaction and collective well being. So, they felt that there is no need to bring in the element of Ishvara in contention at all. When there is wholesomeness in action, why consider the aspect of imperceptible Atma, which anyhow is not bound by karma? Then why bother about self analysis and jnana vichara? Why leave karma for the sake of jnana? So they were against bhakti marga and jnana marga both. In Mimamsa, there were three types. Bhattamatam was one of them established by Kumarala Bhatta himself. His establishing a religion by his name comes later. Let us see as to what happened before that. With the total conviction that Veda Adhayanam, Yagas and Yagnas can and will do most sufficiently, he was doing his karma anushtana quite happily. Those days, Buddhist influence and belief was expanding very aggressively all over the country. They were against all the Vedic religion preached and practiced. Kumarla Bhattar wanted to know fully the principles and practices of the Buddhism. He had no doubt in the effectiveness of the karma marga. Neither was he prepared to give up his benefits and practices. He first wanted to know fully whatever Buddhism had to offer. Then only he could know as to whether Buddhism was better or not. Then, if need be, it could be objected, opposed, and won over. At the level of his true self as Subramanya, he need not have taken pains to learn about anything. He could have known without trying, but that would not serve the purpose of coming down as a human, as an avatara. It is the human being themselves who have to be raised to think, analyze, and evaluate and move towards perfection. Otherwise, he as a god will have to come again and again to tell the human beings what to do and what to think. If that was to be so, what is the purpose of creation? Using his divine powers, he could destroy everything and keep quiet after that. If adharmam was intolerable, God is under compulsion to use his superhuman powers as Krishna did in Dwapara Yuga. Other occasions, God comes down amongst us as one of us only as a human being with human powers of a very high caliber indeed. Thus, Kumarala Bhattar decided to learn and master whatever Buddhism had to offer. Buddhists would teach their secrets only to their ardent followers. They would not let a Brahmin, that too a practicing Brahmin, come anywhere near a vihara. To be acceptable, Kumarala Bhatta did a great sacrifice. He assumed a false role. He claimed himself to be a Buddhist. He kept his karma anushtana a secret. He behaved and enacted the role to perfection. He was the best student in the Vihara. Somehow, a finger of suspicion was raised against him. He was investigated and his antecedents found out. They decided that he should be punished. If he was a dullard, he could have been shown the door. But he was a brilliant student who had learnt everything. They decided to kill him. Their principle of ahimsa paramodharma was let go at askance. He was taken to the seventh floor of the vihara and tricked and pushed out of the seventh floor of the vihara by deceit. Kumar Bhatta was not surprised. He knew what was coming. While falling, his only thoughts were, if Veda is beyond doubt, I should not be injured even after this fall. He was not injured. No fracture of the bones. He was partially damaged in the eye. He got slightly annoyed at the Vedas. He heard a voice telling him that it was only due to his own lack of total trust that he was injured in the eye. Vedo rakshati rakshitaha, meaning it protects its protector. Instead of the thought, if Veda is beyond doubt, it should have been I will be protected by Vedas. His belief in the Vedas was redoubled after that. He established the Bhatta religion and actively started opposing the Buddhism. Since he knew his own religion and the opponents, he could win over them hands down in debates. You might have read in the story books that Adi Shankara defeated the Buddhists and drove them out of India. That is not true completely. It is a bit of an exaggeration. I am saying so myself despite carrying his name. Those who have read his bhashyas will note that Shankara roundly criticized these Vedic Mimamsakars and another Vedic branch of Sankhyas only. In his writings, we will see that he has taken more pains to criticize the Mimamsakars and Sankhyas, and criticism of Buddhists is hardly 1%. This is because Kumarla Bhatta had defeated and trounced the Buddhists already. This may lead to some confusion. I said Kumarla Bhatta is Subramanya Avatara. He had already trounced the Buddhism, which was anti-Vedic. Then I am saying that Adi Shankara had countered Kumarla Bhatta's Mimamsakaram. Was Acharya Adi Shankara against Buddhism, which had nothing to do with Vedic karma, Anushtanam, or Mimamsakam, which was all for Vedic karma Anushtanam. You may wonder, Acharya was not against either. For Advaitam, nothing is objectionable. All other viewpoints are included in Advaitam. It goes step by step covering Ahimsa, Karma, Bhakti, Jnanam. Ahimsa and Jiva, Karunyam are essential to start with. It goes on to the next step of Karma Anushtanam as essential. Then it elevates the sadhaka to Bhakti Marga and finally to Jnana. Karma is important in the early stages for cleansing of minds, but not an end itself. Jnana is the only important thing. All karma stops there. Acharya took people to ask by challenging only when they stopped in the early steps of the ladder. When people had confusion and stopped at the lower levels of the steps and thought that to be the be all and end all, he took pains to disprove them. Ahimsa and Jiva Karunyam and Karma Anushtana and Bhakti and Jnanam should finally be leading to the comprehension and experiencing of Advaita Anubhava. The earlier steps become ignorable only when the sadhak reaches subsequent steps. When you stopped by the wayside, he intervened and exhorted you to proceed further. Everyone is not born at the same level of refinement and polish. One medicine cannot be prescribed for all patients. Each sadhak will need to take the path as suitable to his or her level of advancement already made. Buddha did realize himself that desire is the root cause of all evils. When it came to practice as a religion, Buddhism had the same prescription for all ills that was one common panacea, which was actually a placebo. For the common man, who could not being in even a small fraction of Brahmagyana to understanding, they were uniformly talking about Maya, Sunyata, and Nirvanam to the utter neglect of minimum discipline of karma anushtana, which was quite objectionable. This defeat of Buddhism had already been achieved by Kumarala Bhattar. Adi Shankara comes into the picture now to pick holes in Kumarala Bhattar's logic. Buddhists had said, no Swami, no karma. Mimamsakar says, no Swami, only karma. Adi Shankara's Advaitam said, yes for Swami and yes for karma, till jnana is experienced. Then after that, there is no need for karma as there is no separate Swami. Before Lord Parmeshwara came as Adi Shankara, Subramanya had taken avatara as Kumarala Bhatta and done half of Parmeshwara's purpose by countering Buddhism. Acharya continued on his Digvijayam from Kashi. His aim was to meet Kumarala Bhattar and turn him as his followers to Advaita. At that time, Kumarala Bhattar was sacrificing his body by the process of incinerating in the slow but intense fire of rice husk. Why should he give up his life like that, which was called Dushagni Pravesham, a very torturous method of self punishment as expiation for the crime of duping his Buddhist guru? He had come to this decision after carefully referring to many rule books. Had we got such a book, we would have possibly consigned the book to the fire. Kumarala Bhatta was happy that he had an opportunity to atone for the sin of Guru Droha. Not even real Guru Droha, he had become a student with an ulterior motive. He who had done path breaking work in countering the tsunami of the spread of Buddhism and re established Veda Karma Anushtana with a huge following was courageously sacrificing his being in the fire of rice husk. Adi Shankara, who was coming to meet Kumarala Bhattar anyhow, was shocked. He came to him running. By Acharya's darshan, Kumarala was relieved of the intensity of the heat. With the nectar of his darshan, Acharya gave him Tattva Upadesha Amrita. Till now, I was telling you a story. Now I am giving to give you some Tattvam. Tattvam in Tamil, Tattvam in Sanskrit, Tattvam in Tamil, Tattvam in Sanskrit as a word means that you. What you see as other than you are also the same. The word for principled stand itself means intrinsically Advaitam, meaning no second or no duality, that is oneness. If we do the duties as laid down in the Vedas, it is enough. There is no need for being devoted to God. Neither is there any need for aspiring for realization. This is the belief of Karma Mimamsa. Vedantam, or the end of the Vedas, are Upanishads. Though Karma Mimamsakars accepted the Vedas, they did not accept the latter part, which defines that there is no difference between Jiva and Paramatma. Why is this? They divided the Vedas into two parts. Vidhi, or the rules, as the first part of the Vedas, and Arthavadam, the logic of it, as the second part. Vidhi is the portion which defines the karma. This is similar to the rules and regulations, part of an act of law. This is the portion which describes the procedure of karma and the mantras to be used at successive stages of the action. The other part of the Vedas, which talked of the positions, principles, logic, and reasoning, was called Arthavedam. This was considered as propaganda and publicity and not given equal importance. There is an advertisement for, let us say, a tonic or avaleha. It indicates that there is a tough looking man wrestling with, say, a lion or bear. The picture is not for our enjoyment, but so that we may be tempted to buy the tonic, thinking that after partaking the tonic, we will also be very strong. Similarly, wha- whatever is given in the Veda is to motivate us to do the karmas. Mimamsakas believed, as it is impossible to wrestle with a tiger or bear, tonic or no tonic, they thought that relishing the self or Atma or Jiva becoming Brahma, etc. is all such. Arthavada to make us stick to the karma path. What did Acharya say to counter this? Now listen carefully. He told Kumarla Bhatta, as the Veda tells you certain do's, it also tells you certain don'ts. Here there is no karma, only some restrictions against certain acts. There is some value in not doing certain things, such as not drinking alcohol. You are not accepting Vedas only for karma's sake, but for the sake of akarma also. You are accepting Veda for its intrinsic value and not action and inaction. But karma is not an end in itself. Whatever pleasure you get out of karma is only temporary. Karma initially bestows some happiness through which the aim is chitta suddhi. But even this chitta suddhi is only a transit camp, a stopgap, en route. Bhakti, dhyana, and jnana are the subsequent goals. The final destination is, of course, totality or purnatva. Sasvata Saukhyam, permanent bliss, is also total inaction and no more karma. Okay, what is the use of a man reaching the permanent bliss of total inaction? You may ask, what use is of to the world at large? Good question, well brought out, says Adi Shankara. When a man reaches a stage of having no more duties to perform and is in permanent bliss, it is for him the highest of achievement to have regained his totality or purnatva. Is it not the goal to be achieved, to be happy and kind, with no capacity whatsoever to hurt anyone? When a person taken sannyasa, he or she takes a Praisha mantra. It is a prayer saying, I pray that on seeing me, no life form should feel fear. I shall be kind and loving towards all life forms. Till you have to perform actions, some problems will arise. Some anger and hate will result. For a sannyasi, there is no more duty to perform. He can be love incarnate towards all living beings, animal, birds, insects, and things. His only job is to love. His very proximity and sight generates happiness and love. Through his very being, he is of much use to everybody and everything. Is he inactive? He is doing the greatest service to humanity. Though he has nothing to gain, though he has no more access to grind, purely for the sake of the world at large, he goes from place to place giving darshan, advice, upadesha, diksha, blessings, wherever he goes. With total dispassion, he achieves more. Those that are involved are all the time cribbing and balancing profit and loss. With anger and agitation, they are never fully efficient in whatever they do. But this sannyasi can do any work more efficiently because he has tapped on to the source of abundant power and reached the efficiency ratio of 100%, that is unity that smilingly He makes the impossible possible effortlessly. Since everything is Himself, He has no hatred for anyone. He corrects with love. It is this pinnacle of glory that every individual can reach, for which the first step is karma. My dear Kumar Labhatta, said Adi Shankara. Adi Shankara continued, instead of leaving people to do whatever they want, motivated by selfishness, Vedas have defined the role of each individual for the common benefit. When you train your own mind to do nishkamya karma, that is, doing your duties with no desire or selfish motivation, the cleansing of your mind results. Doing karma without love of God is wrong. Karma is jadam. It is God who gives the result of karma, being the Faladata. The only way to set aside narrow selfishness is to have the devotion that one is doing God's. It is He who can lift us to efficiency and proficiency. While saying all this, Adi Shankara was standing there as an embodiment of the ideals of whatever he was talking about. He was Parmeshwara in human form, an epitome of perfection as a Jnani, as a living example of sannyasi, displaying all the qualities he was mentioning, such as universal love, inner bliss, nishkamya karma, bhakti, and jnana. Kumar Bhatta was experiencing the salubrious effect of the nectarine words of love. It became clear to him that all karma, its effect, are to be offered at the feet of the Almighty, and that the end of devotion is to dissolve one's separateness in God. With tears of gratitude pouring out, he said, I have no more doubts that karma does not give effect on its own. It is God who does so. In my effort to expiate my sins, as I stand here being roasted by this Dushagni Pravesha, you, Ishvara, as the Faladata, has come to give effect. You have given me the clarity which could never have been given by karma alone. Even great bhaktas may not be able to remember God in the moment before death, it is said. For me, who always held that there is no need for God, you have come to bless me. All your views are totally agreed to. I am not even feeling the effect of this fire as a direct proof, but I am not in a position to tell all this to other karma mimamsakars. Please proceed to the city of Maheshmati and tell this to Mandana Mishra, who is a more fanatic mimamsakara. Once he is won over to your Siddhanta, all others will follow suit. With no apparent effect of the fire, Kumar Bhatta was experiencing the cooling effect of Acharya's nectarine love. Here I am reminded of Mooka Panchashati Shloka, and Appar Swamigal's song Mooka Panchashati Shloka starts with the words Janoyam Santapto. It means that I am scorched in fire. Which fire? The very life is intense fire. I am not getting even a drop of Paramagyanam, he says. Paragyana Payash is the phrase. It is the milk of human kindness that Ambal gave the baby Jnana Sambandar. He has Jnanam in his name itself. How much he did to spread the Jnanam is known to you all. He has sung in praise of Veda karmas wherever he went. For example, Kartru Agu Ambik Kaliyai Varame Sertrar Vadatillai, he says. It means word for word as follows. Kartru, having learnt and done Veda Adhyayana. Anga Ombi, having raised well with thee, as given there in the Vedas. Kaliyai Varame, prevented Kali from coming. Sertrar Vadatillai, Tillai Chidambaram, where such great Brahmins live. Tillai city is Chidambaram, where 3000 Brahmins, experts both in Vedas and the Tamil language, used to live. In the same song, he further says, Murtra ven Tingal, Muttalvan Padame Partra Ninrarai, Partra Pavame. The Tamil sentence means those who catch hold of his feet, who wears the white moon, not at full, will not be affected by the pavam or sins of Kali. To Kumarla Bhattar, instead of water or milk, he himself gave the Advaita Amrita, nectar of oneness, for his thirst. What did Mukar ask for? Mother Kamakshi, Paramashiva Jaye, Mother who is one with Paramashiva without duality. I am roasted dry in the samsara tapa. I am looking for the cool shades of your lotus feet. Padma Bhuja Chayam, as he says in Tamil, Inai Adi Kamalangalin Niral. These are the exact words as thought as though reprinted, used by Appar Swamigal. Ishan Entai Inai Adin Yedale. Appar was a leader of Jains. Once he reverted back to become a Shiva Bhakta, the Pallava king, who was a practicing Jain religion, ordered that he be put in a Sunnambu Kalavai, that is a huge utensil in which dry fried seashells will be converted to lime by pouring water in it, or lime king. The king's soldiers made fun of him, asking him, "You were chanting Shiva Shiva, how are you now?" As Prahlada was not affected by the cruel punishment meted out by Hiranyakashipu, Appar was not at all affected. With God's grace, he did not feel the slightest discomfort. His reply to those who were ill treating him is a gem of a poem. He said, "You are asking me as to how I am feeling. It is as cool as the shades of my father's feet are meant to be. It is beyond the bodily sensual experiences. Let me tell you in words which you will understand. Note down one by one. First of all, it is like Masil Veenai, that is flawless music of Veena. Secondly, it is like Malay Madhyam, that is the soothing feel of the full moon. Thirdly, it is like the Visu Tendral, that is the pleasant breeze of the southerly wind. Fourthly, it is like Vingu Ilavenil, that is the waft of the fragrance of flowers in the early spring. Fifthly and finally, it is Moosu Vandu Arai Poigai, that is a water point full of flowering plants, dripping nectar, attracting a bevy of buzzing bees. If you can add up all these sweet experiences that may match Ishan Entai Inai Adi Nirale, that is the shade of my father's feet, is like that. That is what I am enjoying just now in this Sunnambu Kalavai, with me lying inside this vessel full of effervescing lime. Thus Kumarla Bhattar, who is an avatar of Subramanya Swami, looking at the feet of Acharyal, who is an avatar of Parameshwara, without the slightest of discomfort, sacrificed his body in the fire of rice husk. As an avatar of Jnana Pandita, Muruga, there is no doubt that Kumarla Bhatta were much knew about Bhakti and Jnana. When the Buddhists, in all their sincerity, professed Ariva Marga or path of the brain, even if a portion of their teaching was accepted, it would have been like permitting the proverbial camel to put his head inside the tent in the desert. So he defeated the Buddhists roundly by insisting no God, no bhakti, no jnana karma will be most sufficiently. Later, Acharya could take the masses from where Kumarla Bhatta left into Bhakti Marga and Jnana Marga. Om Shri Mahaperiva Sharanam.